Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين، وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. صلوات. Man is in need of guidance, and this guidance must come from its Creator, for it is the Creator who knows all the needs, be it material or spiritual, of its creation. With some creations, like the plants and the animals, this guidance is hard-coded in their existence. The seed contains within itself the footprint of how to develop into a full-fledged tree and bear fruit. This is how Allah guides certain creatures. But then there is another class of creatures who have been blessed with free will, humans and the jinns. They are also blessed with this kind of guidance which animals and plants have been blessed with, using which we develop and grow, develop the features that are within us and become what we have become today in the material sense. But because we have been blessed with free will, there is another aspect of our existence which needs to be developed based on the choices we make in this world. And for that growth and that development, we need guidance. And that guidance must come from its Creator. And it has come from his Creator. When Hazrat Musa ﷺ was talking to Fir'aun, he introduced Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying that Allah, Rabbuna alladhi a'ata kulla shay'in khalqahu thumma hada. Our Lord is the one who gave everything its creation, who created everything, thumma hada, then guided it. Guidance has to come from God. And it is important that we follow the guidance that comes from God alone. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Hazrat Adam and his progeny onto the earth, the Holy Quran says, "Qulna," we said, "Ehbetu jami'an," descend all of you. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنَّا هُدًى. And if guidance comes to you from me, and it surely will, فَمَن تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Whoever follows my guidance, he will neither grieve nor he will have any fear. So guidance is a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is our obligation, it is an obligation on us that we seek that guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to send to us. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be seen. He cannot come to this world before us in material form. So it is important that He sent His guidance through His messengers who are amongst us, who are humans. He sends His message through His messengers and blesses His messengers with miracles so that we can identify the true messengers from the fake ones. This institution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established to send His divine message to all of us for our guidance, of which we are in need of, is called the institution of Nubuwah, the institution of messengership. And God did not stop there. He also initiated the institution that is going to defend and protect the message that was sent to His messenger for all times to come. And that institution is called the institution of Imamat. These are all divine institutions that have been set up in this world so that divine guidance can come to us and can stay intact till the last day on the planet. And this guidance has come to us, people of the last days, in the form of the Holy Quran sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on His best and final Prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It has guidance. It is guidance. The Holy Quran introduces itself, Inna hadhal Quran yahdi lillati hiya aqwam. This Holy Quran guides towards that which is most upright, which is strong, which is upright, which is straight, which has no batil in it. The Holy Prophet introduced this Holy Quran when he was addressing his companions using those words. He says, when you are surrounded with doubts, like the darkness of the night, when you don't know what to do, where to go, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالْقُرْآنِ, turn to the Quran. فَإِنَّهُ شَافِعٌ مُشَفَّعٌ, because it is an interceder whose intercession is accepted. وَمَاحِلٌ مُصَدَّقٌ, and it is a complainer whose complaint is admissible before God. So if the Holy Quran complains against someone, its complaint will be accepted by Allah. क्या हाल होगा उनका जिनकी शिकायत करे Quran? What will be the status and position of those against whom the Quran will complain? And where will those be for whom the Quran will intercede? And then the Holy Prophet says, Man ja'alahu amamahu, whoever puts the Quran in front of him, what will the Quran do to him? Qadahu ilal Jannah, the Quran will lead him to Jannah. Man ja'alahu Amamahu, whoever puts the Quran in front of him, this Quran will lead him to Jannah. وَمَنْ جَعَلَهُ خَلْفَهُ, and whoever puts the Quran behind him, wants to run his life based on his own whims and opinions and desires, and does not listen to the Quran, does not put the Quran in the driving seat of his life, what will happen? سَاقَهُ إِلَى النَّارِ. The Quran will push him to the hellfire. The Quran is a book of guidance. In today's technological world, it would be appropriate to say the Quran is a GPS system which tells you how to get to your destination. What does the GPS do when you drive and you want to get to a destination? You turn on the GPS. Why? Because it tells you the direction, the shortest direction to your destination, the quickest way to your destination. When do you turn on the GPS? When you're lost, when you don't know the way. So if you know the way, then you don't have to turn on. But if you don't know the way, then you turn on when you start your journey, not when you have lived your life. Not when you have lived your life. Why is it that we open the Quran when we have lived our lives? Only to see how many mistakes and how many wrong turns we have taken in our lives? That is not why Quran was revealed. We need to open the Quran and seek guidance from the Quran from day one, when you start your journey towards perfection for which you were created. And this Quran is the guidance. Our Imam, Sadiq alayhi salatu was salam, says about the Quran, he says, Inna fiikum, inna fihi khabrukum, wa khabru man qablakum, wa khabru man ba'dakum. In it is your news, and the news of those who were before you, and the news of those who will be after you. وَخَبْرُ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, and the news of the heavens and the earth. And then he says, وَلَوْ أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ يُخْبِرُكُمْ عَنْ ذَلِكَ لَتَعَجَّبْتُمْ. If someone was to come to you with the news of the past and the future and the present, you would be amazed. In other words, he's asking this question, why are you not amazed with the Quran? If someone was to come to you and give you the news of the past and the present and the future, we would surely be amazed. Fihi khabrukum, it has your news. Why are we so addicted to the net? Any question you have, you turn on your net and Google it. Because it can tell you everything, right? It can tell you information of the past, and maybe it can tell you information of the present. But not all information is reliable. But leaving that side apart, the Quran not only tells you the news of the past and the news of the present, it also tells you the news of the future. Fihi khabrukum, it has your news, the news of the present. Wa khabru man qablakum, the news of the past. Wa khabru man ba'dakum, and the news of what is to follow. And if someone was to come to you with this news, you would surely be amazed. But we have failed to develop such a relationship with the Quran. We have failed to develop a relationship with the Quran the way we have developed our relationship with our devices. The Quran is a device which can reveal to you all the information that you need for your success. For Fawz Azim, for the purpose, to fulfill the purpose of your creation. If you were to be stranded in an island and you would have your device with you, would you feel lonely? If you have your device with you, most people say we are okay. Where people don't feel, they are so lonely even in the gatherings that they're attending, because they're attending to the devices. They don't feel lonely anymore, even if they were to be stranded in an island, as long as they have the Wi-Fi and their devices. Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu was salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, لو مات من بين المشرق والمغرب لما استوحشت بعد أن يكون القرآن معي. If all the people between the east and the west were to die, I would not feel lonely as long as I have the Quran with me. This is how they have interacted with the Quran, and this is how we should interact with the Quran. But because of our lack of ma'rifah with this holy book, we have not benefited from this holy book. This holy book has news of the past, the news of all the nations that were before us, the stories of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, the story of Prophet Hud alayhi salam, all the messengers and their nations that have passed before us. What is in those stories for us to learn? They are stories of the past. What benefit will it provide us today? I will ask the same question regarding Karbala. Karbala is a story of 1444 years ago. Why do we repeat it every year? What benefit does it bring? It is a story of the past. Why do you study the past? What benefit does it bring? Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salatu was salam, salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, I have studied all of the previous nations so much. I'm paraphrasing it in my own words. He said, I've studied all of the previous nations so much as if I have become one of them. To the extent that I have understood their good and the bad. I know what led them to their destruction and what led them to their salvation. You study the past so you can avoid those mistakes in the future. What happened that the Holy Prophet, who left his companions, his loyal and faithful companions, after 60 years or after 40 years or 50 years, the very same companions or their offsprings were ready to slaughter the son of the Holy Prophet. What happened in these 40 years? And if we today follow the same path, the same is going to happen to us. The same is going to happen to us. Today we, in our du'as, in our prayers, we say, Al-Ajal, Al-Ajal, Yabna Rasulullah. We call the 12th Imam with these slogans. We see that the people of Kufa were also calling the Imams with the same slogan. The letters that they had written, the end of the letters would say, Al-Ajal, Al-Ajal, Yabna Rasulullah. Hurry, hurry, Yabna Rasulullah. We are ready. Our swords are with you. Come to us and we will drive these tyrants out of the city. So if we follow in their footprints, it is very likely that we would end up doing to our Imam what they did to their Imam. That is why it is important to study Karbala. It is important to study the people of Kufa, the personalities in Kufa who invited the Imam and then did not support them. What happened to them? Were they not sincere when they were inviting the Imam? No, obviously they were sincere at that time, at that point in time. But what happened? What happened at Ibn Sa'd, who was a son of the companion of the Holy Prophet, chose to do what he did in Karbala. The stories of the past are relevant to us today. When the Holy Quran tells us a story, at the end of the story we find this sentence, وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This is how we reward the good doers. At the end of another story you find وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الظَّالِمِينَ or kafirin or mujrimeen. This is how we punish the evildoers. This is a principle that the Quran is giving you. That this is what will happen to the good doers. This is what will happen to the evildoers. These are principles for us to embody in our lives, to act upon them, to benefit from them. One of the very important and great principles for all of us to implement in our lives is that of taqwa. The Holy Quran says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa man yattaqillah." Whoever exercises taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what will happen? Yaj'al lahu makhraja. God will create an exit for him. There will be no dead end in his or her life. Who wants a dead end in his life? No one. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهُ, whoever exercises taqwa, Allah will create an exit for him. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ, and He will bless him rizq from where he had not even imagined. Who wants his rizq to be abundant and always have an exit when he thinks that there is a dead end? Exercise taqwa. These are principles that the Quran is promising us, and the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a false promise. The promises of shaitan are false. And he makes false promises to us. So the Quran is a book of guidance, and it provides us guidance in this life. It is not to be read at the end of our lives, nor to be read solely to bless the deceased and those who have passed away. We need to open this holy book and benefit from it. Give you another example of the message that some of the stories contain, and from one of the stories, inshallah, and I will move on. This being the first day of our series of lectures. In the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and Hazrat Khizr ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salam, when Khizr and Hazrat Musa alayhi salam had that short trip together, and Hazrat Musa alayhi salam wanted to learn from Hazrat Khizr, and Hazrat Khizr said that you cannot be patient with me. I will only accept you as a student if you are silent, if you silently accompany me. I don't want to go into the entire story of what happened. I'd like to focus on the last part. So first they came across the ship, and Hazrat Khizr made a hole in the ship, and Hazrat Musa objected, and then he apologized, and then they moved on, and he killed a boy, and Hazrat Musa again objected, and then he apologized, and then they moved on. And then they entered into a city whose people were very inhospitable. They asked for hospitality, they asked for food, but they refused. This was the nature of the people of that town. And when they were leaving the town, there was a wall that was about to fall. And Hazrat Khizr asked Hazrat Musa that they should erect this wall and fix this wall. And Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said to him, had you taken wages against this work for these people, at least we could have eaten something. And at that point Hazrat Khizr said that this is where we're going to part, because you cannot be patient on the actions that I perform. That was when they separated. And then Hazrat Khizr, before they separated, Hazrat Khizr described the reason and the wisdom behind each and every action of Allah, of Hazrat Khizr. And at the end he said, I did not do this on my own women, based on my own decision. I did not do that an amri, because of my own command. It was the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was the executor of the divine wisdom. And sometimes even the prophets of Allah fail to understand the divine wisdom. When one of the Ulul Azm prophets of Allah cannot understand some of the actions of the divine wisdom behind some of the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can humanity claim that they can pick and decide on the divine representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the face of earth? That cannot happen. So when he explained the reason why they built this wall, he says, for Ammal Jidar, that wall, it belonged to two orphans in that city. And there was a treasure beneath this wall. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا, and their father was a salih person. So God wanted that this treasure be preserved for these two individuals so that when they grow up, they can access this treasure and benefit from it. What was the reason for Allah sending two of His great people, one Ulul Azm prophet and other Hazrat Khidr alayhi salam, to protect the treasure of these two children? The Quran talks about Kana Abuhuma Salihan. Their father was Saleh. This is the golden principle. We want the future of our children to be safe and sound. There is a principle here. If parents are themselves saleh, if they are subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if they leave this world and the children are orphans, God will make arrangements to protect their future. God will make arrangement. And in Biharul Anwar, the tradition says that between this Abu Huma, their father, and these children, there were 70 generations. It was not their immediate father. A good deed done will have its effect in generations to come. In generations to come. And in the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when that son who did not wake his father up because of a good deal that he was getting, in Surah Baqarah, the Holy Prophet says, do a good deed and see what this good deed will do to you. Do a good deed and then see what this good deed will do to you. So a good deed never goes unpaid. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has this. This is how this dunya has been set up. And the Quran discloses how this dunya has been set up. Now this message, this guidance that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the form of text. This is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is open to interpretations. That is why it was important that alongside the book, God send someone who would interpret this book. So, friend, and guard it from deviations. قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. Alongside with the kitab, Allah said a nur side by side with this book. Who would be the manifestation of this book? Who would embody the principles that this book presents to us? لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. We as humans, we need role models. We need ideals. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent ideals one after the other. So that this dunya, this world, was never to remain without the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that the text of Allah, the holy book of Quran, would not be left open to interpretations however people wanted. There is going to be a divine representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in each and every time to protect this book from incorrectly being interpreted. In the time of the Holy Prophet, It was the Prophet of Allah. He was the role model. When he left this world, who was the role model? Actually, one of the companions of an Imam came to the Imam and he shared with the Imam one of the debates he had with another Muslim. He said, I went to one of my friends and asked him that what is, when the Holy Prophet was alive, who was the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the face of earth? And he replied, the Holy Prophet. Then he asked him, when the Holy Prophet left this world, who is the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the face of earth? And he said, the Holy Quran. And he said, I asked him this question, who knows this Quran? I see every group using the Quran to prove their point. If the Quran is hujjat, there should be no differences among people. But every sect uses the Quran to prove themselves. Is there anyone who knows all of Quran? If Quran was the hujjat, then there should be no differences because we have the Quran with us. He said, then it becomes clear that there has to be a guardian over the Quran. There has to be a guardian over the Quran. And he said he agreed. And then he asked them, who is this guardian? And he said that this companion of the Holy Prophet knows the Quran, and this companion of the Holy Prophet knows the Quran, and he knows the Quran, and he knows the Quran. There are people among us who know the Quran. And he said, I asked them, does this person know all of the Quran? And he said, no, he knows some of it. Then he asked him, does this person, this companion of the Holy Prophet, does he know all of the Quran? He said, no. He said, I've seen people that when in certain issues, he would say, La adri, I don't know. And then this person would say, La adri, I don't know. And then this companion would say, La adri, I don't know. There's only one companion of the Holy Prophet who has never said La adri when it came to the Quran. And he is Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he is the Qayyim and he is the guardian of the Holy Quran. He is the guardian of the Holy Quran. And when the Imam heard this Guzarish, heard this news from him, heard this event, the Imam smiled and he said, Rahamakallah, if I'm not mistaken, the Imam prayed for him. So Quran needs a guardian. The Quran needs an individual who will be a manifestation of the divine principles of Quran, which was the Holy Prophet in his time and all the divine Imams after the Holy Prophet. They are manifestations of the divine principles mentioned in the Holy Quran. And if you look at the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, his movement is inspired by divine principles of the Holy Quran. Innal izza lillahi jami'a. Izzat belongs to Allah. All of it. You see that embodied in the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. When he said, Inna da'i ibn da'i qad rakaza bayna snatayn, that this person has given two choices to me, has put me between two choices, bayna snatayn, bayna dhilla wa silla, between the sword and humiliation, wa hayhat min dhilla. And zillat and humiliation is away from me. I'm far from humiliation. I will not be humiliated. This is an embodiment, a personification of the divine principle of Quran, that izzat belongs to Allah alone. Kalimatullahi hiya al-uliya. The kalima of Allah, the word of Allah is supreme. We see that again manifest itself in the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. For Imams are also the kalima of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see that Imam stood supreme throughout the movement of Karbala. They were not able to make him submit to what they wanted. It is important that we understand the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, why he left Medina, why he stood up, what happened. For if we're able to understand that, we can better understand his personality, the movement of Karbala, and better benefit from it. Remember Karbala, the repetition of the story of Karbala every year is to benefit from it and avoid making those mistakes that those people did in those days, and to seek inspiration. And Karbala has inspiration not only for the Shias, not only for the Muslims, but for all of humanity. For all of humanity. Just like Quran is not for the Muslims, the Quran is for all of humanity. And the Imam, being an embodiment, a personification of the Quran, is for all of humanity. Even in the final moments, when Imam was on the plains of Karbala, and the enemy thought that he has died, and they started to go towards the camps, the Imam stood up and addressed them and gave them the message of freedom, addressing them saying, in lam yakun lakum deen wala takhafun al-ma'ad. If you have no religion and do not believe in the day of judgment, do not fear the day of judgment, fakunu ahraran fi dunyakum, at least be free in this world. The message of freedom is a universal message. It is not limited to Shias or Sunnis or Muslims. It is a message to all of humanity. That is why that verse from that poet, इंसान को बेदार तो हो लेने दो, हर कौम पुकारेगी, हमारे हैं Hussain. Hussain belongs to everyone. The message in Karbala, just like the message in the Holy Quran is for all of humanity, the message in Karbala is for all of humanity. In the coming days, inshallah, we will look into some of those messages and how Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam manifested those messages, personified those messages, and showed to the world that he is truly the Quran-e-Natiq, the Quran that speaks. Today was the first of Muharram. In the time of Imam Raza alayhi salatu wasalam, one of the companions of the Imam, by the name of Rayyan ibn Shabib, he came to the Imam. And when the Imam saw him, and it was the first of Muharram, the Imam asked him, Asaimun anta, are you fasting today? And he said, no. Then the Imam explained to him the significance of the first of Muharram and linked it to the story of Hazrat Zakaria. He said, this is the day, first of Muharram is the day when Prophet Zakaria stood in the mihrab and he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made a prayer for a child because he was childless. And there's a lot of similarity between Hazrat Zakaria and Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. The way Hazrat Zakaria was slaughtered is the same as Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam was slaughtered. It is said that not a single station where Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam descended from his horse, he addressed his companions and reminded them of the story of Hazrat Zakaria, saying that it is enough to show that this world is disloyal to remember the story of Hazrat Zakaria, where he was slaughtered and his head was presented in a tray to one of the Taghiya, one of the women, a Zanakar, one of the Zanakar women of that time. Yahya. Of Yahya. It was Zakaria. Yahya. Inshallah, I'll look it up again. at that time, of that time. There's a lot of similarities between these two individuals. And then he said, whoever on the first of Ramazan, of this holy month, would fast and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah would accept his prayers just as he accepted the prayer of Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam. And then he introduced this holy month. And he says, this holy month was such a month that even in the days of Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, the people of those days respected this holy month, and they would suspend zulm, injustice, and war in this holy month because of its sanctity. But the ummah of this prophet did not respect the sanctity of this month. They did not violate, they violated not only, the Imam says, they violated not only the sanctity of this month, they also violated the sanctity of the Holy Prophet, for it was in this month that they killed his pure progeny, and they took their women as captives, and they plundered their property. And then he said, he prayed and he cursed them, saying, Allah will never forgive them. Even in the days of ignorance, people used to respect this holy month, but the ummah did not respect. And then he says, Yabna Shabib, in kunta bakiyan li shay'in. O Shabib, if you feel like crying over someone, fabki lil Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. You should cry over Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. فَإِنَّهُ ذُبِحَ كَمَا يُذْبَحُ الْكَبْشُ. For verily he was slaughtered just like a ram is slaughtered. وَقُتِلَ مَعَهُ مِنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ ثَمَانِيَةَ عَشَرَ رَجُلًا. And along with him were slaughtered 18 of his family members. مَا لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ شَبِيهُونَ. The world has never seen the likes of them. This is what happened on that day. And then he said, on that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descended 4,000 angels from the sky to come and help Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. But Imam Hussain did not take their help. When Hazrat Ibrahim was thrown into the hellfire, Hazrat Jibreel came to Hazrat Ibrahim and said, do you have any hajat? Do you have any dua to make? Do you have anything to ask from me? He said, yes, I have a hajat, but not from you. He said, from whom? He said, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then ask Allah. He said, he knows what my hajat is. This is the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, I have a hajat, but not from you, from Allah. But when the angels came to Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam said, no, I will not take help from anyone until I am drenched in my own blood. This is the Karbala, Khalil of Karbala. नहीं मैं किसी से मदद नहीं चाहूँगा जब तक कि अपने खूने शहादत में गलता ना हो जाऊँ. The skies wept blood. The earth, any stone you pick, there was blood that boiled beneath it. The Imam says, on this day, Yabna Shabib in kunta bakiyan li shay'in fabki lil Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you feel like crying, you should cry over Ali ibn Abi Talib or Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. فَإِنَّهُ ذُبِحَ كَمَا يُذْبَحُ الْكَبْشُ. Because he was slaughtered like a ram was slaughtered. What is the similarity? Why is the Imam comparing the slaughtering of Imam Hussain with that of a ram? When a ram is slaughtered, it is given water. The Imam was not even given water. What is the comparison? I've heard one of these scholars make this comparison. He said the Imam compared it to the slaughtering of a ram, because when a ram is slaughtered, no one stops by to ask, why are you killing this ram? Why are you killing this goat? They would pass by as if it is normal for this ram to be slaughtered, as if it is justified that this ram be slaughtered. When Imam Hussain was being slaughtered, no one stepped forward to ask, why are you killing this person? He is the son of the Holy Prophet. Yes, there was only one lady who stood up and she cried and she addressed each and every companion, but then there was no reply that came from anywhere. She turned to Ibn Sa'd, Ya Ibn Sa'd, What is with you? The son of the Holy Prophet is being slaughtered. Are you not going to stop him? Even Ibn Sa'ad turned his face away and he started to cry. Everybody cried on that day, but no one came forward to stop the slaughter of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. Ala lanatullahi ala al-qawm al-zalimin. Matame Hussain.
Muhammadur Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyullah, Wasiyyu Rasulillah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyullah,
Wasiyyu Rasulillah,
La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyullah, Wasiyyu Rasulillah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyullah, Wasiyyu Rasulullah, Wasiyyu Rasulullah. Sada Mawla unto Walid, cannot give bay'ah to Yazid. Sada Mawla unto Walid, cannot give bay'ah to Yazid. He is the lowest of the low, we where the angels come and go. He is the lowest of the low, we where the angels come and go. La ilaha, everyone. Muhammadur Rasulullah,
Aliyun
Waliyullah,
Wasiyyu Rasulillah,
Wasiyyu
Rasulillah.
O my helpers, O my kin, leaving me will bring no sin. O my helpers, O my kin, leaving me will bring no sin. They said, Mawla, we are few, but we live and die for you. They said, Mawla, we are few, but we live and die for you. La ilaha illallah. Everyone. Muhammadur Rasulullah.